This is the injury report presented by NYU Langone Health. Julius Randle said, "I did everything in my power to play again this season after deciding to get season-ending surgery on his dislocated right shoulder." Knicks fans have so many questions about this injury, so let's get y'all some answers. We have Dr. Dennis Cardone, Chief of Primary Care Sports Medicine at NYU Langone Orthopedics. Doc, thanks for joining us. It's the news that shook up New York City more than Friday's earthquake. Rightfully so, though, right? Because we had heard for months that there were reports that Julius Randle was getting better, and then bam, we hear that he's getting season-ending surgery. So what did doctors see on that MRI to finally decide to shut him down for the remainder of the season?
You know, it's probably a combination of things. It's a combination of what they saw on the MRI and what they saw on examination and what he was telling them. So if somebody has a first-time dislocation almost across the board, we give them the benefit of first time, rehab that shoulder, get it strong, and then see how it goes. So probably he was doing his rehab and maybe got on the court doing some kind of practice session or some contact. And probably, most likely, he had another episode of what we call instability. That ball probably just moved around a little too much in the socket, or he was feeling that feeling of instability and maybe some pain, discomfort. And then at that point, they said, hey, we rehabbed it, we waited our time, still not doing well. And then probably it became a no-brainer to say, hey, this needs to be fixed.
Well, I'm glad you brought up that practice because he reportedly re-injured the shoulder, like you said, during a full contact session with pads is what they're calling it. And that happened about 5 weeks ago. You think that shoulder was ready for contact, and should he have just gotten the surgery right after he injured it on January 27th?
You know, it's a great question. Like I said, we often will give the benefit of the doubt to the athlete, to the player, to say, hey, you know what, strengthen it all up. It's going to feel normal. And why don't you just see how it goes? You know, if they have a second episode, then it becomes an easy decision to fix it, to do the surgery. But many athletes can do well without the surgery. The problem is a contact sport, right? Once they're playing some kind of contact sport, then the likelihood is that they're probably going to have another episode, but we still like to give them that opportunity to see how they do without the surgery.
All right, so that was that second episode that made them decide to shut him down. Let's play a hypothetical here, because a lot of Knicks fans out there, I don't think they understand the threshold of the pain that what he was going through. So let's say he gutted it out, like he did the ankle last year for the playoffs. He wasn't 100%. Let's say he decided to play through the pain of the shoulder injury. With that type of injury, could a basketball player still be effective?
So no, on multiple levels. Number one is it's going to be painful. Number two, it's going to be unstable. So there's a high likelihood it's just going to pop out again. And every time that shoulder has an instability episode or it pops out, it increases risk for later down the road to develop some early arthritis in that shoulder joint. And also it really beats up the bone and the muscle tendon and ligaments. So even when later on you have to do a surgery, maybe even a surgery, shoulder replacement, it makes it even that much more difficult later on for surgery. So multiple reasons. One, you know, again, he's going to be a feeling of instability. Two, pain. And three, we don't like what happens to that shoulder long term if it keeps popping out. So the right thing is not to finish the season, not to play and get it taken care of.
Well, salute to the doctors on that training staff for protecting the player against himself, because, you know, like he said, he did everything in his power to play. He just couldn't bear with that pain and that shoulder re-popping out. So he's going to go under the knife. What does this surgery do, and what needs to be repaired exactly?
So there's something in the shoulder called the labrum. The labrum is this fibrous tissue that gives it, the shoulder is a concave, it's a ball in a socket. The socket's concave, and that fibrous tissue called the labrum gives it like a negative suction and holds that ball where it needs to be. If somebody tears their labrum, which happens with a shoulder dislocation, it's kind of like when you think about a golf ball on a tee, and part of that upper rim of the tee gets pulled off, and now that ball could kind of fall off that tee. So it's kind of the same thing here. So what you're doing is you're building up the labrum, you're building up the capsule of the shoulder, and you're giving it that negative suction again, holding that ball into the socket.
Doc, I'm just thinking about what my T looks like after I play golf and drive. I would not want my shoulder, labrum, anything looking like that. So pardon the pause right there. I just had to get a visual. He's going to get reevaluated in about 5 months. What's the timeline going to be like in terms of getting the shoulder and Julius Randle back to 100%?
Yeah, so the rehab starts really early on. But again, when you talk about that aggressive rehab and getting them ready for contact sport, high level elite athlete, you're looking at a minimum of 5 months, but probably ready to play it in that 5 to 7 month range.
Well, it's unfortunate because the Knicks had a what-if type season. That you were hoping they would be healthy so they can go on some sort of a playoff run. It could still happen, but it's just going to be hard without Julius Randle. Doc, thanks for hopping on with us, man.
No, really a pleasure. Thanks. Good to see you. Thanks so much.